The artificial intelligence race is on. The demand for AI is helping drive the growth of data centers in the Lone Star State, with the Austin area now a hotspot.
But those data centers require a lot of power and at times a lot of water. Two resources environmentalists say Texas doesn't have enough of. The KVUE Defenders take a closer look at what's driving the explosive growth and what's being done to address the environmental impact.
Here's investigative reporter Jenny Lee.
Hundreds of racks, dozens of rows, thousands of computers. They make up 4 supercomputers at the Texas Advanced Computing Center at the University of Texas. Frontera is the most powerful one.
There's a total of about 500,000 processor cores that make up the system.
Inside this data center or machine room, Executive Director Dan Stanzione says the teal fiber cables allow them to treat the individual computers as one big supercomputer, calculating complex problems for scientific research.
Frontera is so powerful that what it calculates in 1 second would take a human calculating one problem every second for the next 1.27 billion years.
Frontera's supercomputing abilities have real-life applications. For example, it enables more accurate simulations of weather patterns and ocean currents.
We look at the energy that the ocean carries.
And as powerful as Frontera is,
it's 33,000 square feet.
Construction is underway for a newer and bigger one at the Saby Data Center in Round Rock. It'll house UT's next supercomputer, the Horizon, expected to go online in 2026, with 10 times the scientific capabilities of Frontera.
We'll also have more of a focus on AI than Frontera did.
The demand for AI is skyrocketing. That translates to a need for data centers.
What's causing the growth in data centers is really driven by AI.
They're popping up all over Central Texas.
Growth is really accelerating in the data center market.
Eric Bell is the founder of Baxtel, a company that tracks data centers around the world and helps find space to build them. Baxtel's latest data shows 386 facilities in Texas. 47 are in the Austin area, 13 of those have expansion plans, and 8 more are under construction.
Another trend that we're seeing is data centers are being built in a much larger fashion.
Bigger data centers means more energy use. The power capacity for the 47 operational data centers is 642 megawatts. For perspective, 1 megawatt powers about 250 homes, according to the state power grid operator, ERCOT. The power capacity for the 8 under construction is 358 megawatts. Combined, that's 1,000 megawatts. But the power capacity for the 13 planned sites is more than those two combined, 1,186 megawatts. Part of the reason ERCOT predicts the need for triple the amount of power Texas generates in 15 years.
When you start to see the numbers of how much generation we'll actually need to meet some of the projected load growth, it starts to get pretty shocking.
Energy expert and consultant Doug Lewin authors the Texas Energy and Power newsletter. He says right now, ERCOT has a capacity of about 170,000 megawatts of total power. But in 2039, ERCOT predicts a need between 425,000 and 500,000 megawatts of power.
That's a whole lot of power.
A big concern for environmentalists.
Can we actually accommodate that huge demand? And if we do, what are the consequences for our air and our water, our electric bills, reliability, and other things?
In January, Environment Texas released a white paper on data centers, outlining how power-hungry computing activities like AI could slow the retirement of oil and gas power plants. State leaders are also worried.
For Texas to maintain its national leadership for economic development and for growth, we need to make sure that we continue to add more power.
Environment Texas is also worried about the impact on water. Its report details how one data center can consume up to 5 million gallons a day. In comparison, the average water use per person in Austin is 131 gallons a day.
How much water does this facility use?
This building's cooling is designed with an air-cooled system. Our water usage is, it's really next to nothing.
Mark Noonan is the senior vice president of the Saby Data Center in Round Rock. He says many of the newer data centers, like his, are focused on sustainability.
You could just think of it as a natural recycling or recircling system. And you're right, yes, it cools off, heats up, cools off, heats up, but it uses the same water as it does that.
Back at UT's Texas Advanced Computing Center,
Oh, it gets very hot very fast. These chips will shut down at around 190, 200 degrees.
Dan Stanzione says they're experimenting with several cooling options, some that don't require water.
So this is another alternative for cooling technology where we're doing immersion cooling.
Still, Luke Metzger with Environment Texas wants lawmakers to act before it's too late. In January, he sent them the group's legislative agenda with recommendations because no one knows if new supplies of power can keep up with the data center's unprecedented growth.
Well, that's the big question.
For the KVUE Defenders, I'm Jenny Lee.
Jenny, thank you. You can find out more about the recommendations Environment Texas sent to the legislature and what energy expert Doug Lewin says the state needs to do to meet future power demands right now with this story on KVUE.com.